If you've ever struggled to remember what you read, Chapter 4 of the book Make It Stick explains exactly why this happens and how to overcome it. And in fact, is exactly why I'm creating this video today. Chapter 4 is called Embrace Difficulties. And the essential idea is that the most effective learning occurs through overcoming desirable difficulties. So first we have to understand, how do you create memories in long-term learning? Why do you need desirable difficulties in the first place? And if you embrace these difficulties, what are those benefits? So let's first explain how you create memories. So first you have to encode new information. So basically taking in new information, conceptualizing it, and that new information creates changes in your brain. They call it memory traces. So it's not stuck in your brain forever, but it can be. Through the process of consolidation, by taking that memory trace and weaving it with information you already know, especially repeated over time, that strengthens and enhances that memory so it's consolidated. And that process occurs through retrieval, basically calling up that new information that you just learned and attaching it to the old information. So why do you need desirable difficulties? The main reason is that short-term memories don't have long-term staying power. It's if you were to type a little note in a Word document but never save it. It works like writing an essay. So you have your first draft. Let's imagine yourself you've just learned something new and you need to write an essay on it. So you create a first draft and it's bad, but that's okay because you're going to keep working on it. So that's the process of taking the new information and unifying it in your brain with your old knowledge. And then the more you chip away at it, the more you try to polish it, reorganize, the better the learning becomes. And don't forget that you have to actually save it. And learning requires retrieval cues. So you can't just save it as some untitled document, saving it under the category, under a title that makes sense. So what are the benefits? Why do we want to make learning difficult? Because, like I said, continually making connections to the old information will strengthen the memory long term. But not only does it do that, it helps you in your brain formulate mental models. Think like a brain app. Let's say you're creating a brain app, how to drive. At first, there's all this information you have to learn, but eventually you consolidate it into a single app that you can just run and drive automatically without having to think about every little thing. Difficulties also help you broaden your mastery so that you can apply it to different situations. When something's difficult, it primes your brain. How can you use this to your advantage? It is difficult for me to remember information that I've read. Having to actively recall the knowledge allows me to see where my knowledge gaps are, but it also helps me reemphasize the points that I've just read. Understanding that learning is hard will allow you to get through it. Knowing that learning is supposed to be difficult helps you know that, no, you're not stupid. You're just learning. So you just have to get through the process and trust that in the long run, you will learn the information. And then if you are going about learning a new skill, you do want to make it have desirable difficulties. Space out your practice. Allow yourself to forget a little and then try to recall information. Actively pulling information from your brain is the best way to make sure the information stays there, but also helps you increase your knowledge base.